Hello and welcome to A Bechdel Dysfunction, a podcast that dissects feminist films directed by men and discusses whether they are helpful or harmful. I am Cara Strover.
And I am Harry Anderson. We are two film school underachievers who are heaps good at talking about movies but not that flash at making them. We want to acknowledge that we're recording this on Wurundjeri land. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We also extend that to any other First Nations people who may be listening.
In a shocking twist, we are following Kill Bill Volume 1 with Kill Bill Volume 2. Let's all get some bloody satisfaction.
Okay, Kill Bill Volume 2 from the year 2004, directed by Quentin Tarantino, written by Quentin Tarantino and Uma Thurman, yet again starring Uma Thurman, David Carradine, Daryl Hannah, Michael Madsen, not so much Lucy Liu, but or Vivica A. Fox, but they're the names I've got written down. The bride continues her quest for vengeance against her former boss and lover, Bill, the reclusive bouncer Bud, and the treacherous one-eyed Elle. Hello, Cara. Welcome to the pod.
Hi. So good to be back.
No fucking worries. How the fuck are you? It's an audio-based platform.
Yeah.
You can't wave. What's a fucking strong start?
You never asked me how I am before. We're getting into...
What? What?
No. Sorry. Do you want to start again?
No, not at all. I'm leaving all of this in just to spite
great.
you.
I don't listen to it. Spite the listener.
Yeah, we got you. Why is this a feminist film? I know we discussed it last week, but maybe just give us a quick little recap.
Continuing, it's basically one movie to split into, right? So everything about the first one, the strong female presence, the woman in a traditionally male-dominated action role, the twisting of the playing with sort of masculine-dominated genres, in this example more strongly with the Western, and putting a sort of a woman in a role that would traditionally be played by a man, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.
All the classics, all the good shit.
Yeah.
Give us a quick rundown of the plot for everyone playing along at home who might not have seen this and is coming in hot, decided to skip our recap of Volume 1 and gone straight to 2.
So in Volume 1, she knocks off the first two on her list of the Deadly Viper assassination squad. The first being Lucy Liu, Oren Ishii, Cottonmouth. They all have snake names. Vanita Green, Copperhead. And now she's on the hunt for... I actually can't remember how this movie opens, even though I watched it 2 days ago. Does it open with the flashback?
It opens with her in the car.
Oh, yes. That's right. He recaps. I actually love that sequence as well where she's driving. Next on her list is Bud, Bill's brother.
Played by Michael Madsen.
It
does open with a flashback. It opens pre-massacre where we meet Bill. We get the reveal of Bill. That's how it opens.
I watched this 2 days ago and I've already...
Yeah. Played by, I guess, I remember when I watched it for the first time, the very unassuming David Carradine, who I've never seen in anything else before or since. Do you remember when you first saw Bill? Because obviously we don't see Bill in the first film. Do you remember the first time seeing this movie and being like, that's Bill?
Not really, which kind of tells you how I feel about the character Bill.
Can I tell you something embarrassing?
Yeah.
And funny. Okay, so I'm a pretty intelligent film guy, right? I'm on a podcast. I've done now 13 episodes, this being the 14th episode. I'm a pretty intelligent, knowledgeable cinematic individual.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this film for the first time 15 years ago. I rewatched it again 2 days ago. And I only just realized that Bill wasn't Uma Thurman's dad.
What?
I am an idiot. I know. There's no two ways about it. It's so obvious now, because the cover story for Bill in the chapel is that...
You know at the start of the first movie when she says...
I know.
Bill, it's your baby.
Yep, I just thought it was because you're the grandfather, I guess. I just never thought about it. I was just like, okay, he killed her. We're off to the races. And yeah, I just, in the review, I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah. Because I didn't remember that from, obviously didn't remember when I was watching the second film. There must have been some sort of gap. I can't remember how big a gap it was. But it's like, oh, okay, he's her dad. And I think it's really dumb. It's so dumb, obviously. No one feels like a bigger idiot than me. But it's changed quite a few scenes as it's turned out.
Which scene did it change the most for you on rewatch?
Mostly when she's meeting Pai Mei. So the story by the campfire, that just seems very fatherly. And him like going up the stairs and being like, hey, train my daughter. And then he fucks off for a year. It's like, okay, go live with this guy for a year. It's like, it didn't, watching that as a 13-year-old and subsequently every other time since, I was just like, okay, that wouldn't be something that a sexual partner would do, I guess.
Okay.
So that actually does play a little bit weird for me now, but I'm wrong. There's no two ways about it.
That's
because the age difference is fucked. Can we also say that?
But that's really interesting because like that was something I was thinking as I was watching it.
Oh, so I'm not an idiot.
No,
Sick. Thanks.
you're not.
Thanks for letting me off the hook.
Well, you're not totally an idiot.
I'm a bit of an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of like I knew the first time I watched it.
You've always been much more cinematically aware than I. What is the phrase we use? Media literacy.
But I do find Bill and the bride gets a name in this movie. Her name is revealed to be Beatrix Kiddo. Great name. Great name, by the way.
Yeah. And also him just saying kiddo as well.
But anyway, but here, so like I find their relationship really cringe. And the scene you're talking about where he's like that transition and it's him playing his flute or whatever and her staring adoringly while they're sitting by a fire, like gag. Like I hate that scene.
Yeah, it was a bit difficult watching it this time around, knowing the actual context.
But it like for me, it kind of I think, and we've talked about this in a couple of other weeks, like about Charlie's Angels and Silence of the Lambs. This kind of like paternalistic mentor relationship with like in those movies, there's kind of undertones of like a sexuality to it, and in this movie, it's just explicit. It's just like yes, looking for a sort of father figure. And also then a romantic partner. But I was also kind of thinking, like, that to me, Bill is a little bit, like, analogous to a film director. Say, possibly even a person like Quentin Tarantino. Like, Bill to me is a bit of, like, a self-insert for, like, Quentin, of this, like, really nerdy guy who's into pop culture. And he gets to take this kind of dominant leading role with these group of adoring young, really beautiful women
who all want to fuck him
and who all like just want to do what he says. Like, I feel like there's a little bit of that to Bill. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. There's a huge glorification. I found out in researching both these films, just sussing out Quentin Tarantino, is that he never knew his dad as well. So his dad wasn't in the picture. He might have known him, but his dad wasn't really in the picture. So I guess he's probably got a bit of a checkered relationship with father figures himself. So without passing any judgment, I guess it's just a bit diluted. So,
there's even like a line in there about that, about like Bill not knowing his father and then collecting father figures. Like that's kind of part of his character too. Mm-hmm. Not that we want to like kind of draw too many explicit, like I don't think it is based on him. I just think this stuff kind of bleeds through, you know.
It's like, a bit of a projection.
Yeah. It's like who you want to be, right? I also, I'm also not familiar with David Carradine's other work. I actually mostly recognized him, especially the first time I watched it, as he had a guest appearance in Lizzie McGuire. Because
wow, what a credit. And it would have been around that time as well.
Because his brother, Keith Carradine, was the dad in Lizzie McGuire. So he shows up in this episode.
Bullshit.
No. So he shows
Fuck off.
He shows up. He shows up in this, like, in maybe, like, the very last episode of Lizzie McGuire or something and, like, teaches Lizzie's brother, like, martial arts in the backyard. So that's...
Fuck. Oh, man. Why aren't we reviewing that show? Ugh,
Let's do the Lizzie McGuire movie.
Yeah. I assume it's directed by a man.
I don't know. Let's look it up.
No.
But, yeah, like, I'm not... And apparently it was originally envisaged as, like, as a Warren Beatty role.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of drummed up some more like action scenes for Bill. And I think the role got a bit bigger as well. Like I think it was originally sort of meant to be more of an off-screen thing. And then you could have Warren Beatty show up for like one day.
Yeah.
And then as the role got a bit bigger, it was like, we can't afford Warren Beatty. He probably doesn't want to do this. So
it would have been, I think it would have been great casting considering like his reputation in the real world as well.
Yeah. I think to me, David Carradine's kind of an interesting, like, I don't really like the Bill character. I don't find him, I find him extremely pretentious and annoying. Like that,
I can understand
that whole kind of last scene where he does want to shut up and he goes on his long, and also just to make it like a little nerdy correction, but when he does his whole like speech about Superman and he's the only one who's born Superman, I'm like, I think you'll find that Wonder Woman was born Diana, Princess of Themyscira, and pretends to be Diana Prince. Like,
yeah, that's stop being a nerd. All right, I'm going to stop you right there. Don't bow down to the level of picking apart plus shit like nerds because we're above that. We're not above thinking that characters are different roles within the family dynamic of films, but we are above nerds picking apart plot points. So I'm going to cut you off there.
Okay.
But you make a valid point. You do make a really valid point because that whole reveal where he's like, oh, I'm not angry at you. I didn't kill you because I was jealous. I killed you because you were wasting your talent as a killer. I'm like, what a fucking wasted opportunity. Sorry, we're going to jump to the end. The end scene sucks. The end scene is bad. I think the 5-point exploding palm technique is just a really, really fucking shit through line in this film. I actually think it's such an anticlimax to end the film. But anyway, that's me. We were talking about the plot, but I guess I just got to the end of it.
No, I mean, I don't really like the end either. I do think it's anticlimactic. Yeah, I don't really know what to make of their like final conversation.
Mm-hmm.
He talks.
Also, the truth serum dart. What the fuck's up with that?
I think that's where it really shitted me. Like,
it's a jump of the shark moment. Hey.
No, not even that. It's actually not even that. It's more. It's more like I remember watching and just being really annoyed of like, why don't you have to take the truth serum as well? Why is she the only one who's being forced to like tell the truth in this scenario? Because I feel like there's this kind of really annoying thing where it's just this implicit like women are confused and they can't be honest about their emotions, like kind of undertone.
Yeah, it makes.
Whereas he speaks with perfect clarity, and he just has this perfect understanding, and he's just this like older worldly figure, and he just knows, and he's gonna. And I'm just like, why are you not a liar? Like, you know,
it Fight Clubs, mate.
I don't think. I don't know where this is coming from. I'm really making this all up on the spot, but like, so much of that scene to me just seems like a really Tarantino-esque in that, even in that way that Tarantino talks about like his responsibility of things, like, oh, I'll admit to this and this, but it's not really my fault. And I'm like,
yeah, as discussed in the previous episode, he has an issue with taking responsibility for shit.
Yeah. And I just kind of find like, I don't get, so I'm kind of like watching a character like Bill and I'm like, am I supposed to believe this guy or am I supposed to think he's full of shit? Because I think he's full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's the intention. And I don't know if 15-year-old boys who are watching it take that away.
Let me put you in my shoes. It's early 2008. It's summer. I'm watching this on a 4x3 TV on a PlayStation 2 in the front room of a weatherboard house in inner suburban Melbourne.
In Keno?
I've just finished in Keno. I've just finished watching George Miller's Mad Max 1. Filmed not one suburb west of my location at the time. Yeah, I thought he was cool. I thought he was like this sage wizard. And I know, I was obviously surprised that he was this old, strange-looking dude, but like I remember thinking like, whoa, this guy, man, like he's deep. And he wore cool clothes. I cannot stress that enough. I really like his clothes. I love his shoes. I love the paisley shirt that he's wearing in the scene where he's talking to Bud at his trailer. Yeah, he's got cool cowboy hair. Yeah, he was cool, man. But he's a fucking loser, that's for sure.
I also think it's interesting when you hear sort of Tarantino talking about writing this movie and how it kind of developed. Because like we said in the previous episode, he and Uma Thurman kind of came up with this character of the bride while they were making Pulp Fiction.
His second feature film.
And then, you know, later along down the line, he starts like committing and actually writing the story. And he talks about how it wasn't until I sort of got to the end of writing it that I realized that the bride's daughter was still alive. And
That's the big reveal.
Yeah. So this.
All right, let's talk through it.
I don't know how I feel about it, because it doesn't really change anything for the character, if you know what I mean. Because she doesn't know until like the very end. She's already killed everybody else. It doesn't change like her decision. It doesn't impact her decision to kill any of the other characters or take, you know, revenge on them. It doesn't influence her decision to go and find Bill. And then at the end, it doesn't change her decision to kill him. She still makes the same choice.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's backtrack. Let's walk through that final scene.
Okay.
So Uma Thurman's character, Beatrix Kiddo, has tracked down Bill in Mexico at his hacienda. I think that's what it's called anyway. His house, his big fancy house in Mexico that he's living at. And she breaks in and she's going to kill him, but
there's a little girl there and she says, "Mommy." And then Uma Thurman starts crying and then they have a play fight and then she watches Shogun Assassin.
Yeah, and I'm there thinking, it's like, why the fuck is this kid calling her granddad daddy? That's a bit weird.
I think actually it didn't occur to me until this viewing, but I actually found it like an extremely manipulative tactic on Bill's part to have the daughter there. Because in a way, it's like, you know, in the first movie when she says to Vivica A. Fox's character, she's like, "Don't parade your daughter. Like, the fact that you have a kid doesn't mean to me that you've changed, and it doesn't, you know, change like make up for anything that you've done to me. And I'm not going to restrain myself based on the fact that you have a daughter."
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of framed that way, right? Of like Vanita Green almost trying to shield herself with the fact that she has a kid. And then fucking Bill just has the 4-year-old there. Like, I found it really manipulative on this viewing.
Yeah. I also found the whole goldfish story thing to be very upsetting. It's like, no, that's just a kid that's killed a goldfish. And they're probably a psychopath.
Yeah, but that's what like, when you think about it, everything that she says about wanting to take her daughter out of Bill's world is entirely justified by everything we've seen Bill interacting with this little girl. It's like, you are 100% right to want to get this kid out of this environment.
Mm-hmm. And it's a funny thing that you touched on, I think, when we were talking about aliens. It's just like a man who has no children using motherhood as a story arc for female characters.
Yeah.
And then sort of having like this superhuman, like, I will lift this car off this baby, like sort of drive to like, you know, save their children. I don't know. Does it fuck the movie?
I don't know. Like, to be honest, it's so like shallow. To me, it's kind of inconsequential. Like, the thing is, you could take the character of BB out and you could still have almost entirely that same interaction and conversation. Like, you just tweak it slightly of, I left for some other reason.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be part of the world anymore. Yeah. And then he can still do his stupid Superman speech.
It'd probably be more valid. You'd also probably get a more interesting end with the whole revenge as well, because I don't buy it at the end when she's like sitting there just sort of like rolling around laughing on the floor, like in the hotel bathroom. It's just like, I think it should have been more hollow for her, which is I often think that revenge should be. You know what I mean?
I think that scene is like, I actually like that. I actually like that thing.
Go ahead. Talk
I
to me
think
about
it's like this combination of like despair and cathartic release, but also euphoria. And also, like, I think he mentions, like, not to get too plotty about it, but he does say when he shoots it with the dart that it's like a sense of euphoria comes with it. So I think it's just this like a really intense emotional release after everything that's happened. She's got her vengeance. Her baby's alive. Like, but she's killed, and also like she's killed her lover. Like, it works for me.
It seems to be more positive than negative. And I think I have, and that's probably because, to quote Roger Ebert again, this movie is not about anything at all except the skill and humor of its making. It's kind of brilliant. And I know he meant that for the first one, but I think it applies for the second one.
No, he says, one of the achievements of Volume 2 is that the story is filled in, the characters are developed, and they do begin to resonate, especially during the extraordinary final meeting between the bride and Bill. No respect to the great man. No disrespect, but I do not agree.
Yeah. My point is that, like, yeah, of course, this is a bit of a wishy-washy ending because Tarantino doesn't do themes. And I think it's fine that he doesn't have a hollow revenge story as a conclusion because he just deals in stylistic, hyper-realistic worlds. That's fine. But I also think that the idea of violent revenge is a hollow pursuit because no matter what you do, it can't bring back what was taken from you. I mean, in this
film it can.
In this film it does. But us talking about like her not being the film being the same without the kid being there, you know what I mean? I think you missed that opportunity. That's what I'm saying. It's just like she could have this hollow, like burnt out feeling at the end because, like, you know, she's gone through all this, she's killed her lover, but what's it for? And I'd like to run it up in parallel with a film that came out in the same year, which is a much more subtle revenge flick, which is The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou by Wes Anderson, which is, for anyone who hasn't seen it, Bill Murray is a ocean videographer whose best friend and colleague is killed by a mythical shark, and his whole the MacGuffin of the film is him wanting to kill this shark. And in the process, you find out that he's like a guy who's entirely obsessed with his work, has an estranged son who he's failed to connect to, and in the pursuit of like trying to find this shark, his son dies. And he misses that opportunity. He sort of realizes at the end when he finally finds this shark and he has this opportunity to kill it, that it's just like, what would that bring back? Like, it's just, it's not said, it's just assumed, but it's just like, it's this really poetic moment where it's just like accepting what has happened to you and acting vengeance will not make you a better person. Like, you accepting your life and processing the grief and dealing with it like everybody does in their day-to-day life when they get dealt, you know, the evil hand of grief. Like, you just have to deal with that and go through the motion of feeling that and become a stronger person out the other side of it. And it feels like that is just a missed opportunity with this being like, it could be a great, like a fucking fantastic film, and it's just a good film, I guess, in my roundabout way is what I'm saying. Like, because, yeah, revenge and processing of grief is a very interesting thing that we all deal with. But I guess he's just more interested in doing entertaining things.
I don't know. I don't have any coherent thoughts on it.
It's just something that crossed my mind.
No, for sure. I'm trying to think of how I can...
I think it just it emphasizes yet again that he is style over substance, or style as substance, rather.
Honestly, I also think it's kind of a cheap and easy route, because I think it makes it easier for the audience to kind of get on side with her as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, and a cheap and easy route to a happy ending of like, mother and daughter, the lioness and her cub are reunited. Like
that they shoehorn in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, like I think that's pretty cheap and easy way of like, I don't know how to end this movie with making my character likable. So there's that as well. I also just think like, it's just the way that he talks about it too, of like, I didn't know until the end of the movie. Then I knew, like, after Uma's, and, you know, seeing Uma develop as a mother, that's when I knew that Bride's baby was still alive. And I'm just like, you don't know what you're talking about, because you've done nothing with that. You've just stuck a creepy 4-year-old in there and made her kill a fish. Like, it's just, he hasn't actually, and to me, it's like, it's pretty cliche, the whole, I found out I was pregnant and in that moment I wasn't a woman anymore. I was a mother. Like, I don't know. I just found all of that to be pretty hackneyed and cliche.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't do anything interesting with it. So it's like, cut it. Like,
yeah. Tarantino sucks. We're way better than him. We would never confuse characters for being a different family role than they would be. This episode's fucking all over the place. Let's go back to the plot in terms of some degree of structure. So, all right, we have the shootout.
Yes, we see a flashback where we see that Bill has found the bride after she's sort of betrayed him or escaped from him or pretended, left the life of an assassin to pretend to be, Arlene Plimpton married to Tommy in El Paso working in a used record store. And they have a kind of, what we believe to be a sincere moment of understanding of her moving on from him and that life. Mm-hmm. And, her asking him to attend her wedding, and which point he sends in, 4 people to murder her and 10 other innocent people. So, he's, a bad guy.
Including Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. And then we go to Bud, who's left the life of an assassin. I think there's kind of like an implication that he's sort of remorseful for what happened with the bride, and that kind of led to him leaving that life and living a life of degradation in order to atone for that.
Yeah, I just think that's a really interesting movie.
I think it's interesting too, until she comes back, at which point he shoots her, spits on her face, and buries her alive.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I find that is at odds with what is presented in the first. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely do. It could be done fine where he's like, okay, I am just defending myself, but still grappling with that. You could do with that. Like, even to the point where he's just like shooting you in the chest with rock salt and not bullets, or like, I think that's fine. The spitting in the face is bad. That's particularly shit and yucky. And like his one-liners and stuff, but like you can really narrow that down. But I love his sad fucking life, man. Like, I love him working at the bar. I love his cool shirts that he's wearing. It's like his fucked trailer where he's just listening to Johnny Cash and making cocktails. I'm just like, this is cool.
But like, I kind of, I think that's to me a bit of like I don't know if it's a storytelling issue or a characterization issue, but like, I find that first part kind of compelling. And then the first thing he does is like shoots her in the chest, and then also like starts like sexualizing her and degrading her. And I'm just kind of like, I'm just like, these two things aren't connecting. It's like, do another draft, like make it.
Are you telling me that Quentin Tarantino doesn't know what the fuck he's doing?
But
yeah, I agree with you.
So anyway, there's a confrontation with Bud. It's also interesting to me that he's kind of like one of the most like successful against her. Like he's the only one that she sneaks up on.
Yeah.
The other two she confronts outright. He's the only one that she actually like tries to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not sabotage exactly, but like tries
stealthily
approach. Yeah. The other she'll just kind of like barges in.
Yeah.
So he's kind of got this implication as being a bit more like maybe like canny or like a bit more of a strategist than the others.
Yeah, but I don't reckon you find that out until later, like, because he sort of just presents as a dumb cunt. Like the previous scene, like he gets fired from like bouncing
at a strip joint,
an empty strip joint. Like, and he's just like, he's so pathetic. He's just like, oh.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of like the life of it, like a life of atonement, right? Like, I'm going to put up with this because I know I've done wrong. But then it's like not followed through. That theme is not really followed through, because then he just sells her sword as well. Like him like trying to sell her sword is like, he does this really like cheap and crass shit.
Sorry, he does actually bury her alive. Which is quite compelling.
But like, to me, it's like him sort of, like I said in the last episode, he's kind of got this almost like warrior poet thing going on, where he says shit like, that woman,
that lady deserves her revenge,
and we deserve
to die.
But like, there's that, and then there's, I've buried her alive and now I'm going to sell her sword to her, like, most hated it. Like, to me, that shit is all just kind of, like, if he's out there living in a trailer, working in a strip bar with no customers, why is he then trying to, like, pawn his sword for $1 million cash? Do you know what I mean?
What? That totally just answered itself. Like, because he's dirt poor.
No, but he could. He doesn't. But you know what I mean? Like, he's living that life.
I do know what you mean.
As a choice, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to be. He could be back, assassinating with Bill.
I guess so. It's almost like he hasn't sorted out, Mr. Quentin.
Anyway, this is just...
Yeah, it's definitely not feminist.
Anyway.
Anyway, let's talk about the scene where he's about to bury her alive. And as we discussed last week, there's some pretty crude chat that's sort of in line with Buck, who likes to fuck, from episode 1. And a guy who meets no justice whatsoever, like Michael Madsen's little buddy who digs the hole and says, white women like to call this the silent treatment, and we let them think that we don't like it. I'm like, by the rules of the previous movie, that guy should have his head slammed between a door, but we never see him again. It's almost like Quentin Tarantino doesn't realize this is a feminist film.
Yeah, what about it? Sorry, was there a question?
No, I'm just trying to set up some sort of back and forth.
Oh, no, yeah, like, well, we already started talking about this. Yeah, it's gross. But it does lead to that very cool scene where she punches her way out of a grave. So,
with a skill that she learnt from a man who treated her like shit.
Yeah. Another paternalistic mentor, although with sort of less sexual implications.
Who hits her with a stick and calls her a dog.
Yeah, that's true. It's not great. But,
But he's also very funny and very entertaining.
Yeah, and, in a lot of other movies, it would have been, a young man character that he was hitting with a stick and calling a dog. So
it's true.
It's equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity discrimination. 2 questions. How did you go with the claustrophobic burying of the coffin scene? And I can ask the second question as well. What did you think of the crash zooms of Pai Mei when he whipped his beard around?
I'm not too bad with that scene.
It's pretty gripping.
Yeah, no, it is. Like, it is. It's really good. He does that thing where he, like, changes the aspect ratio when she's in there. Yeah, with the dirt coming on. Yeah, like, he's good. The
sound design, it's fucking
He's
killer.
a good filmmaker.
Yeah.
He can...
He's just a dork.
He's just a bad storyteller.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that scene is like... There was something about it. Now I'm trying to remember. Okay, I can't remember. So, yeah.
Then we get the flashback. Then we get the Pai Mei sequence. We hear about the 5-point exploding palm. She punches her way out. Then she goes back to Bill's trailer. Elle's there now. She's got the money for the sword. And she's like, hey, take the fucking money. And he opens up the case and a black mamba bites him on the face.
Here's an excellent scene where she has a little...
Daryl Hannah
as Elle Driver after Bud's been bitten in the face by this black mamba. She takes out this little notepad and reads these notes that she's written after. What did she say?
She's like, crazy things you can find on the internet.
I was like, I looked this little guy up on the internet, which is such a 2003 little
Welcome
line.
to the future.
I really like Elle Driver as well. Like, I think she's a really...
She's driving in that car. She's so cool.
She's a really fun character.
That fight is fucking sick as well.
I think she's kind of the most sort of straightforwardly kind of bad character. Like the others,
it's the eye patch.
Yeah, like, because Lucy Liu's kind of got like her tragic backstory, and she has this sort of, I don't know, like the code of honor of the Yakuza or whatever, and Vivica Fox is not in it that much, and she's got, she's turned her life around and has a daughter now, and Bud's got whatever the fuck his deal is, but then Elle Driver's just in there just basically being jealous because she's also in a relationship with Bill.
Yeah.
He just, I think that's kind of, that could have even been an interesting thing, but even that was played out pretty straight. It's just like Elle is just this kind of inferior copy of the bride, right? Like blonde, they both have sort of similar skill sets, but Beatrix was just better. They both trained with Pai Mei, and Beatrix could just put up with it better. Bill's with Elle now, but only because he's
And she
dead.
doesn't kill either of them. Isn't that funny?
Oh, yeah.
In terms of her revenge, she doesn't actually kill Michael Madsen. The snake does.
Yeah.
And she doesn't kill Elle. She just kind of leaves her there after plucking her second eye out.
To pulling her eye out. I think if you pull someone's eye out and leave them in a trailer with a black mamba, I think we can say that you...
Interesting. Let's see what happens in Kill Bill 3.
In Kill Bill 3 when she trains Nikki.
Trains Jason Statham. All right, let's push into the fun shit and get the fuck out of here. Sexy lamp. If you can replace any female character in your film with a sexy lamp and it makes no difference to the plot, themes, or story, you are a hack. Kara, who's the sexy lamp for Kill Bill Volume 2? Keep in mind that we spend a little bit of time in an actual strip joint.
Oh, yeah. I don't like saying women, though. I'm trying to think of a man.
Yeah, true.
I'm trying to think of a man. I need a man.
Okay. Tommy, her husband.
All right.
Who she's going to marry. He can be the sexy lamp.
Okay, because that was interesting because I was almost going to put him down as a possible Statham swap out.
Okay, cool. Let's tie these together. All right. So you give me. All right. So and filling everyone in. Each week, Kara and I get to swap out one character in the films that we reviewed to hypothetically be played by Jason Statham. We call it the Statham swap out. So
I've got another one.
Okay, who's your Statham swap out then?
Esteban Viejo.
Cool. Who's played by the same guy who plays the cop in the
first one, yeah.
Yeah. So he's doing Mexican face, which is pretty cool.
There's a few. Actually, my other one I was going to say for maybe Larry, the owner of the strip joint.
Yeah, he's my Statham swap out. He's going to be my guy. I fucking love that guy. So, here you go, baby. Be somebody. That used to be your name. You used to work here. That character's fucking great, though. I fucking love him. So, the boss at the strip joint that Bud works at who's angry at him for rocking up late. Larry. In the double denim and an incubus beard.
I think that's like something that Tarantino does really well is write like a character that appears for 2 minutes. Because it doesn't matter. Like the rest of it doesn't matter. It's just like what cool sort of fun thing are they doing? Like that's kind of, for me, like the real strength of Pulp Fiction as well. It's just like the opening scene.
Yeah, true. I agree. Oh, look, I'm going to override Tommy to be the sexy lamp. Okay. Which he really is.
Yeah. Disposable love interest.
His name never ever comes up again outside of that scene.
And he seems nice.
He seems like a sweet guy. Yeah. He thought that Bill was her dad. And Statham swap out can be Larry. Larry from the strip club. Awesome. All right, let's push into our grading criteria. Okay. Every film that we review on A Bechdel Dysfunction gets graded with 3 main criteria. 1, does it Fight Club? 2, does it Bechdel? 3, does she make it? Point number 1, does it Fight Club? Quick explanation for anyone playing along at home. If a film has a reverse effect of what the filmmaker intended. So case in point, Fight Club. A movie that should be just about mental health being difficult for people to deal with sometimes, made boys want to punch each other in the head. Kara does Kill Bill Volume 2 from 2004, directed by Quentin Tarantino. Fight Club, in your opinion?
Yeah.
Cool. Based on the same shit that we were saying last week? Because all the guys look super cool?
Yeah, I think, because they're basically one movie. They're not really 2 movies. So anything you can kind of say about the first one, you can say about the second one.
Yeah, cool. Because of Bechdels, yeah.
Yeah, does it Bechdel this one?
Yeah, Elle and Beatrix in their sword fight.
And I guess
conversation just between us gals.
I guess, and she talks to the kid as well. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Fight Club's even less than the first. I mean, Bechdel's even less. Anyway, yeah. And does she make it?
She makes it. She makes it out alive.
She kills everyone she wanted to kill. And then she got a baby.
The dream, the new American dream. Kill all the people who did you wrong.
And get a baby.
Yeah. Esteban. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah.
Cara, is this fucking film helpful or harmful?
Well, just to contrast, like, okay, so for the first one, I said it was helpful. Let's just say it's harmful. Best of
Because he doesn't know how to write the mothers.
Because he doesn't know how to write anything, and because he doesn't have anything interesting to say about like women or motherhood or even like about the boy stuff. He doesn't have anything interesting to say about revenge or violence or what it means. He just thinks it looks cool. And unfortunately, whenever you do stuff that just to make it look cool, people who want to do bad things and look cool will take away from that.
And that's why I've always wanted a pair of Cuban heeled boots.
I think you should treat yourself.
I think so too. I've been thinking about it constantly since watching it. In 2 full days of being like, you know what? I want some fucking Cuban heels so I can look like Bill and Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. Because they're 2 people who boys should look up to.
I think you should get a snakeskin jacket like Sailor from that movie.
Wild at Heart.
To express your individuality.
Yeah, and start smoking at age 4. We're getting off topic. Is there anything else you want to say about this as we wrap up? Harvey Weinstein, you're a dog, rot in hell, you can't.
I just see if I just had anything written down that might be worth. Oh yeah. Can I maybe just throw this little bit in and see if you can squeeze it in anyway?
Hell yeah, motherfucker.
Sorry. From that same like Tarantino and Uma Thurman did this interview with IGN. I think it was at like Sundance or some festival or something in 2004. She talks about how like in the second movie as the idea of like the characterization and the character work kind of expanding. And she said this quote that I thought was interesting. In regard to expanding the emotional universe of the character, that's sort of what we do, especially as women. In this case, it's very rich character, but yet so streamlined and so physical, and there's so much less time for expression than your average drama or something. But that's what we do, women, because our parts are always underwritten, actually, usually. So we kind of go in there and that's what we do. We try and take whatever we get and we fill it up and we make something out of it. And this is kind of why I love Uma Thurman so much, because I think she's so intelligent and she's such an interesting artist, and she is kind of always doing like interesting character work, even as she has to point out as a conventionally attractive woman in the industry, like that affords you a lot of privilege, but it also lands you in these roles where what are you doing? Like the love interest. And it's up to you to kind of create an interesting and compelling emotional inner world to like communicate with the audience and hope that gets across in whatever you get out of the edit. So like, I love that she kind of found the experience of making this movie to be a subversion of that, and that she thought like the character was there, built for her, that she could then expand on. I just unfortunately, there's all this other shit around it. But I do love Uma Thurman, and I love that. I actually really like the character of the bride. I think there's interesting bones there. And then there's just some weird shit about motherhood because a man wrote it.
Yeah. Stapled on for some sort of closure. All right, that just about does it for another episode of A Bechdel Dysfunction, a podcast that dissects feminist films directed by men and discusses whether they are helpful or harmful. Thank you so much for listening, as you do every week. And continue to listen next week as we review The Muppets Treasure Island, directed by Jethro Spondonicles, a controversial film that is definitely real. See you then.